Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Podcasts. Joining me today on Edmonton's podcast is Matthew Halstead, who is president of Sharp Trucking Services. Thanks for joining us today, Matthew.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start off just a little bit. Tell me about the company and what you guys do.
Sure. So Sharp Trucking, we started as a traditional oil field services trucking company based here in Edmonton. We service the northern oil patch, hauling equipment and piping and casing all into northern Alberta. It wasn't long after that the company evolved into the mining industry and taking explosives all through the mines into northern BC and Alberta, and ultimately into the Yukon.
Oh, okay. And how did the company start?
Started with two cousins, Brett Hernick and his cousin Mark Craddock, two local Alberta guys, and saw opportunity. And like everything in Alberta, it's go out and stake your claim and build a business.
And how did you become involved?
Uh, how I got involved in the business is there was a bit of a tragic accident. One of the founders, Mark, was involved in an auto accident and tragically killed. Brett, his partner, and his cousin took over the business outright. After a bit of time, Brett and I unknowingly had a mutual colleague. She made an introduction to Brett and I. Brett and I started talking and came together on some strategy and some growth plans, and ultimately started working together. And I joined the company in 2020.
Tell me a little bit about, I guess, that industry. What's it like these days for the industry that you're in?
Trucking's an interesting business. It's not just the drivers on the road. It's the great thing about the trucking industry is it's IT and it's finance and it's sales, it's business development. It's a big part of the economy in Canada, not just Alberta or not just here in the West. It's a great industry for professional development. And the thing about Canada is we're such a large, vast country, and dispersed as wide as we are. All products at some point are going by way of truck, and we've got our little market.
So a couple of things about the trucking industry itself, Matthew. Now, first of all, how important has the use of technology become for that industry in the last couple of years?
Yeah, more so now than ever. Technology is a key component to what we do. It's GPS tracking for the truck. It's our IT component on how we build our business, and our tracking tools, our financial measuring tools, our dispatching. The software and the technology in trucking is as key now as the trucks, the trailers, and the drivers.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of drivers, how difficult is it to find drivers these days? I've been hearing that for the last couple of years out in the industry.
It is. It's a challenging labor market, not unique to driving or trucking, but yes, it's a challenging labor market. It's a demanding lifestyle. It's certainly not one that's meant for everybody. Our particular type of trucking, where we go into the Arctic and we go across Western Canada and we go into isolated mines. They pack up their truck at the beginning of the week. They say goodbye to their family. They're gone for anywhere from 60 to 70 hours. They live in that truck, and it takes a special kind of guy or person, and we do a very good job at not only the recruitment but the retention of those very highly skilled and sought after individuals.
So, what do you look for in a driver? Obviously, beyond the license that's needed, but like, what are some of the key elements of a driver that you're looking for when you're hiring or adding people?
Yeah, they're a pro in everything that they do. They're a pro in the way they handle the truck. They're a pro in the way that they handle their paperwork, their interaction with the customer, the safety and the maintenance of the vehicle. It's we in our business, because of the products that we haul, the roads that we travel, in some cases the extreme isolation that they can deal with, going into the mines and into the high Arctic. Yeah, Internally, we sometimes say we're looking for that 1% of the 1%.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the economy and the oil patch right now in Alberta, how would you describe what it's like?
I'd say we're on an upcycle. There's no shortage of opportunity right now. There's certainly more trucking than there is trucking companies and drivers right now as it relates to just the driving component to it. It's an incredibly competitive market, and we as an organization have to do our very best to again to be able to recruit and retain those individuals for our company. The economy is strong, and oil is up again, and the mining sector is up again, and Alberta and Canada as a whole are feeling the benefits.
And what's it like, being based in Edmonton? What's it like being a business owner or a business operating in Edmonton?
I'm from Ontario, and I came to Alberta by way of Vancouver after living in Vancouver for 6 years. Of all the places I've lived and worked, there's nothing like building a business in Edmonton. There's something very special about working here. It's I would describe it this way: nobody really cares where you're from or where you went to school or who you know or who you don't know. Are you just going to come in, roll up your sleeves, work hard, and build a business? And that's how I describe it: working in Edmonton and building a business.
Yeah, and how would you describe the business conditions in this province for anybody that owns a company?
Uh, there's a great labor market. There's affordable housing. Things like we don't have PST, so it's a good place to build a business, and it's great opportunity. And cliches aside, I would say what you put in is exactly what you get out.
So, you mentioned the affordability. Does that help you guys in attracting people to work there? Because, you look at an average price of a home in Edmonton compared to average price in Toronto or Vancouver, or even some other places in Ontario like Ottawa or Hamilton. And yeah, there's no beating what Edmonton has, right?
It certainly helps. Yeah, we've a strong economy, very affordable housing, lots of options, a great international airport. There's a lot to like about working in Edmonton and Alberta for that matter. We've got Vancouver and Calgary very close by. They're great partnered cities to work with, and and here in Edmonton, there's a lot of good companies making their head office here, and we partner with them quite often. Everything from Kenworth for our trucks, Canadian Western Bank for our banking. We're very fortunate with the partners that we have.
Okay. What about Edmonton itself? What do you personally like about living there?
Well, for me, I love the summers here. The Edmonton River Valley that cuts right through the city's downtown core is fantastic. I'm a skier, so we've got world-class skiing that is just a short little drive to get there. And if you're into the outdoors, whether it's the river valley, the hiking, the biking, it's a great place to live and it's a great place to work.
Hmm. Now, in running a business, especially these days, what do you think some of the key things are that companies need to focus on or be cognizant of to become it successful?
Well, in our business, it starts with being a safe company. In trucking, the safest companies are the most profitable. And next, it's really interesting work. We've got really good work that's very challenging, and it brings great opportunity. And with that, it translates into retaining and attracting really good people. Any good organization is about the people, and when I think we've done it right is we take problems and we take challenges and we make the solutions so interesting and so dynamic that it does attract those natural leaders, those hard workers, those dedicated employees. And as a company, when we've done it right, is when at the end of the day they go home and they bore the neighbors to death with how much they love their job at Sharp Trucking.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Uh, what what do you think has been in the last couple of years for you and the company the toughest challenges you faced?
Uh, I would say managing growth without imploding. I think is probably the best way to do it. Um, those ups and downs to go from from a small to medium sized company to a large company. We've grown. If I can speak selfishly for a minute, we've grown pretty significantly in a short amount of time. We've doubled in size in about a 2 year window. We've just expanded into Ontario. We were always a Western-based carrier. It's as you and I are talking, we are opening our facility in Ontario and doing first loads, um, and
Hmm.
it is that idea of growing and maintaining that quality of control within your organization when you're a smaller company and not having it diluted or watered down as you expand your market share.
Now, your growth, has it all been natural or has it come by way of acquisitions as well?
So far, it's all been organic growth. We've looked at a few acquisitions. We've got one in the wings that we're seriously considering. But again, when I look at our people and just how hard they work, how dedicated they are, they are it's their fingerprints that are all over our growth, and it's all come organically.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. So how do you manage that? Obviously, it's a busy time and you're looking at growing, but how do you make sure that you don't take on too much, I guess?
Well, we've got a good leadership group, and within that circle of leadership, we do a very good job at reviewing opportunity. We weigh the balance of what's to our advantage, both operationally and fiscally, and we take a bit of a cooling off period rather than just jump right in and move quickly. We take an informal cooling off period. We then come back as a group, collectively caucus, knock around those ideas. And as simple as it sounds, we're very good at making those pros and cons lists, and we act on the pros and we push aside the cons and move forward in what serves the customer, what serves us as an organization, and what serves our employee base.
Okay. What about the trucks themselves? I'm just curious, how big are they?
Well, our drivers, they live in their trucks, so
Yeah.
we have very robust highway trucks. They have a 76-inch bunk in them. There's inverters, there's microwaves, there's fridges.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
they when they load up at the beginning of the week, they're living out of that truck for the better part of 70 hours. And I think, as I opened with, quite often the mines that we service are in very isolated locations. These drivers, they're completely self-sufficient in that truck. They've got their fuel, they've got their clothes, they've got their water. They're there whether they're there and self-contained for hours on end, and in some cases days on end. So it's a full-size truck with a large bunk. Some of them have two beds. We have some drivers that work what are called teams, husband and wife combination, and there's two people living out of that truck in some cases.
Oh, wow. Have you ever driven one?
I've driven one through the yard. I leave that to the experts. I can move one from A to B, but there's other parts of the business I'm pretty good at. That one I leave to the experts.
No, Matthew, being an executive in and running a business, obviously, you know, we all know it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, right? In many ways, it's a 24/7 job. Uh, what do you do to, I guess, find work-life balance, that kind of buzzword and phrase that we talk about these days?
Yeah, well, personally, I do find a lot of balance in my work. I thoroughly enjoy it, and so that's part of it. But the other part, I think, as anyone will say, anyone that's had any degree of success, it comes with a great support network. I've got a wonderful wife. She supports me in everything that I do. Great family base, both here in Ontario, and it is that strong family foundation that supports, that helps any business owner grow their company and find that balance outside of work. Personally, I think I mentioned it earlier. I enjoy skiing. I have a brother-in-law who I ski with as much as I can. I spend a lot of time in the river valley. I've got a dog that I get out into the river valley with quite regularly. But I do have to say I always circle back to family and most importantly my wife.
All right. And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Burlington, just west of Toronto, from Southern Ontario. When I'm living here in the West now, I try to keep that to myself. But again, much like Edmonton, what makes it so great is a lot of people that are in Edmonton came to this part of the country to build their piece of the universe and make something special. And it's just been a great place to do it.
What did you, when you were growing up, what did you think you were going to end up doing as a career?
That's a good question. Well, I played a lot of football growing up, and there was that small window where I thought maybe that would be the career path, and reality kicked in pretty quick. When I look at football, the one thing I say is that the time on the field is quite often the smallest part of what you do. You spend most at practice, a lot of time in the weight room, and a lot of time in the film room. That wasn't me. I enjoyed the game, but I wasn't one for the weight room or the film room. I gravitated toward trucking and just never looked back.
Where did you play?
I played football at St. Mary's in Halifax.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. You could have ended up playing for the Ticats. I'm sure you probably are a Ticat fan growing up.
Well, much like the driving of our trucks, I leave that to the pros. I think I'll leave football to the pros as well. I think those days are long behind me at this point.
Right. What if over the years in business, from your perspective personally, as a manager, as a business person, where do you see your growth coming from personally? Like, where have you done a lot of training things, programs of reading books? Could you talk a little bit about that, where you've seen you've grown the most?
Where not to take away from any of the workshops or courses or degrees, whether it's on the formal side, those with their MBA or their CA designation.
Yeah.
Where the greatest growth comes from is really strong, hardworking individuals that I would put it this way: our greatest growth has come from when there's a barrier put in front of us. We as an organization, I think we push through when most would either give up or move on, and it's that resilience to just not give up and to see the opportunity in every problem that can come in front of you. Really making sure that it's looked at as opportunity and turning it into something, as I say, when I think others might move on or give up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Matthew, for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure, Meredith. Thank you.
All right, that was Matthew Halstead, who is president of Sharp Trucking Services. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. This has been Edmonton's podcast. Thanks for joining us today.